ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦਾ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੀਟਰ ਐਸ਼ ਨਾਲ। ਇਹ ਸਫਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਐਲਬਿਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਤੋਂ। ਕੀ ਇਹ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੇਤਨਾ ਲਿਆਂਦੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਪੂਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਣ ਲਈ ਯਤਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲਾਂਗੇ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੀਟਰ ਐਸ਼ ਤੋਂ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ।
Thank you.
Thank you. So a little bit about albinism. What is this disease?
It's actually a genetic condition that occurs at birth, and that both the mother and the father have to carry the gene. The genetic terminology is autosomal recessive. In other words, both parents must carry the gene, the father and the mother.
Okay.
But they're often unaware they do. 99% of the time, the parents have no idea they carry this. The child's born, so the parents can be of any complexion. My parents were both Caucasian. My father had dark hair. My mother also had dark hair. And I was actually the third born child. My firstborn brother, Paul, had albinism.
Okay.
Came out as white as I am. The middle child, my brother David, came out with dark hair and olive-colored, more toward an olive-colored skin compared to me. And then I was the last born with albinism. And so albinism is a complete or substantial lack of melanin. So the product in your skin that gives it color, whether you have a brownish color or a darker black color, is melanin. And people with albinism do not have production of melanin. So the skin, as in my case, is white.
Okay.
The hair as well. The eyes have a lack of pigmentation, which is why you'll see that I'm wearing these dark glasses. The bright lights on the set here, because I have no pigmentation in the iris of my eye.
Okay.
There's no filter. So the dark eyes, if you have brown eyes or green eyes or so on, that filters the light. So in my case, the lack of pigmentation in my eyes results in what they call photosensitivity or photophobia. So this lack of pigmentation creates a variety of effects. And albinism occurs in every genetic, in every ethnic group, of the world.
Okay. So Peter, were your parents also suffering from albinism that this disease came to you?
No, my parents, as I say, did not have albinism. My father had dark hair. My father had normal sight.
Right.
So did my mother. Nor were they aware they had carried the genetic information for albinism.
So what is it, this, when you talk about the genetic, carrying of that gene, so what is the specific, this gene which creates this problem?
Well, I mean, if I were a geneticist, I could give you the number of the genetic mutation. All of us carries a series of, you probably carried the data for 40 or 50 genetic disorders without even knowing it.
Right.
So unless you marry someone who has the same genetic information, some genetic disorders, there's hundreds of genetic disorders in the world.
Right.
And in some of them, both parents have to carry the same gene, like in albinism, which means it's recessive.
Okay.
In other genetic disorders, only the father or the mother, or it's X-linked or Y-linked.
Right.
So if only one parent carries it, the child has the disorder. In genetic disorders where both parents carry the same gene, it's much more rare to produce a child with that genetic disease because the odds of my father, a man with the genetic information, and a woman in a rare disorder, both marrying, are extremely low. In fact, in Canada and the United States, 1 in 20,000 people will have albinism.
Okay.
So for you to know someone, for example, with albinism, you would need to know 20,000 people.
Okay.
So I always ask this question, do you know 20,000 people? Most people say no.
Right.
I said, well, that's how many you'd have to know someone like me.
Okay.
So it's extremely rare in North America and Europe.
Okay.
Not so in Africa, where the instances are much higher.
So in Africa and other parts of the world, is it much higher, as you said, and any particular reason for that?
Well, in Africa it certainly is, and we don't have a lot of data on other countries. But in Africa, for example, one in East Africa, like in Tanzania, for example, 1 in 1,500 to 1 in 2,000 people have albinism.
Okay.
Which is over 10 times as frequent as it is here.
Okay.
We believe in other darker skinned cultures, such as Asian cultures, Indian cultures, the occurrence rate may be higher, but a lot of accurate data has not been gathered yet in those cultures. So you have to do testing in each culture.
Right.
But we know for certain that in Africa, the instances, especially in Eastern Africa, and Africa broadly,
Right.
is higher. The reason why, the theory is that the genetic mutation for albinism began there.
Okay.
Every genetic mutation in the world has a specific point in time it began. And we believe, genetic researchers in the United States believe that about 2,000 years ago, the first occurrence of albinism occurred in Africa, likely East Africa.
Okay.
And so if you have it begin there, and there's a higher rate of intermarriage, so in African societies and rural areas, people don't intermarry with other races as frequently.
Right.
People aren't as mobile. They're living in that same community for generations and generations and generations. So you could be marrying your fourth or fifth cousin. Right?
Okay.
So the genetic gene pool, if you will, remains concentrated.
Right.
And so the occurrence rate multiplies exponentially. That's one of the theories for the high instances in Africa.
Do you have any data as to how many people suffer from albinism all around the world?
No, we don't. You know, you could extrapolate it. You could say, if you had, I guess, a big enough calculator, you could say, you know, there's 35 million or 36 million people in Canada. 1 in 20,000, probably 500 or 600 of us, something like that,
Right.
in Canada. You know, but and you could do the same population statistics. So no, I've not seen a statistic published around the worldwide population of albinism. Partly because in different countries the occurrence rates are different.
Okay.
And it's such a rare disorder
Right.
that it's not really been studied very well in terms of how frequently it occurs.
What about the treatment? Has some treatment been evolved?
No, the only treatment for albinism really is to deal with the symptoms. So, for example, most people with albinism, almost all, well, actually all people with albinism are visually impaired. So they
Okay.
have visual reduction. So, for example, in my case, I have 2200 vision. So someone who has perfect vision, perfect eyesight, has 20/20.
Okay.
I have 2200.
Okay.
Which means I have about 90% less vision than a fully sighted person. And that's for a variety of reasons. And so the treatment really is special devices, special magnifiers, special telescopic units that you can use to read street signs, tinted lenses to help with the bright light. So you're treating the symptom.
Right.
You can't cure, there's no surgery that can correct what's wrong with my eye available yet.
Okay.
And there's nothing that can add pigmentation to my skin.
Right.
So the way you deal with that, if you're in a hot climate, part of the world where there's a lot of sun, you wear long sleeve shirts, a hat, and you wear a sunscreen to protect yourself from the UVA, UVB rays.
Okay.
Skin cancer is very, very high, especially in Africa or even in China, India, places where the UV rays and UVA rays are
less.
higher, much, much higher rates of skin cancer. Because
Okay.
people don't know to cover themselves up. And the darker skinned population around them, their parents and so on, because most children born with albinism have parents who don't have it,
Right.
often don't know to tell the child, wear a long sleeve shirt, because they don't have to. They
Right.
don't get a sunburn.
Right.
But now the child doesn't know. So a lack of education creates a lot of problems for kids with albinism, particularly in countries that are developing or don't have higher educational standards or access to medical care.
Right. Okay. I would like to continue with this discussion. We'll go for a small break, come back, and especially because you said dark, pigmentation in the parents and the children who are, white because of this less pigmentation. So, especially in Africa, how are they treated? What is the, how are they treated by the society as such, and especially, and why did you create this under the Same Sun organization? We'll talk after this break. So, ਲੈਣੇ ਜੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਕੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਪੀਟਰ ਐਸ਼ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਲਬਿਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਇਹ ਉਹ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜੀਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਮਿਊਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਾਲਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੱਚਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਸਕਿਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਚਿੱਟੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅਫਰੀਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ, 1500 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਐਲਬਿਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਦਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਟੈਟਿਸਟਿਕਸ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ 20,000 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਮਾਪਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਵੇ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜੀਨਸ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਿਊਟੇਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਮਾਪਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਐਲਬਿਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਇਸ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ। ਐਲਬਿਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਪੀਟਰ ਐਸ਼ ਨਾਲ। ਆਓ ਹੋਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਰੋਕਥਾਮ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। So Peter, like before the break you were talking about that in Africa this is quite prevalent. So how are the children treated over there basically?
Well, it's very, very difficult. For people with albinism born in most African nations, the moment they're born, they encounter extreme discrimination. It's common for the father to immediately abandon the family, blame the mother for having relations with a white man, one common thing. The belief system in a lot of African nations is that a person with albinism is not human. They're a curse, they're a ghost, they're a spirit being. Because remember, mother and dad are very, very dark-skinned. All of the family members are very, very dark-skinned. Then all of a sudden, a child comes out as white as me.
Right.
So what's the explanation? They're confused. And because they don't have the internet or they don't have a hospital nearby, they don't have any explanation. They're confused.
Right.
And often witchcraft is very prevalent in Africa. And so they'll go to the local traditional healer or witch doctor, and the witch doctor will tell them, well, no, this is a curse on the village or on the family.
Right.
This is some kind of a ghost. And so the child encounters stigma and discrimination from birth.
Right.
Name calling, for example, in Tanzania, one of the common names for people with albinism is a Swahili word that means zeru zeru, which means invisible ghost-like creature.
Okay.
So all the time, the whole child's life, people on the street will be yelling zeru zeru or dealy dealy, which means deal, which means your body parts are worth money. And maybe this connects with how we started under the Same Sun, because back in 2005, I heard about the body parts of persons with albinism being sold on the black market for tens of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
A lady named Vicky Antatema was the BBC's bureau chief in Tanzania at the time,
Right.
an African lady, and she had heard people with albinism being murdered in her country. So she went undercover as a reporter for the BBC and discovered that the body parts, skin, hair, blood of people with albinism was being sold
Okay.
to witch doctors. And these witch doctors would say to a businessman, look, if I use the body part of a person with albinism in a mixture, if I grind up the bones in a mixture, and you use it in your mining business or your fishing business, you'll become wealthy.
Okay.
Because there's this belief that we are magical beings.
Right.
We're not human beings. And so there's this sort of mystical, magical belief system
Right.
around albinism in Africa. And so people with albinism face tremendous discrimination. So when I heard about these murders
Right.
being perpetrated against people with albinism, I flew to Tanzania 5 years ago myself. Never had been to Africa before. And I thought, these are my brothers and sisters. I'm not African, I'm not Tanzanian.
Right.
But I have the same genetic condition they do. So whether you're from India, whether you're from China, whether you're from Africa, whether you're from Europe, whether you're from Canada, you have albinism, we all have something in common.
Right.
We have the same genetic DNA.
That's right.
So it's a metaphor for me for the universal nature of humanity.
So that was how the birth of Under the Same Sun happened.
Exactly.
But before that, I would like to know that is this a contagious disease?
Not at all. Albinism is a genetically inherited disorder, as I said earlier.
Right.
It has to do with the melanin inside my skin.
Right.
And it has to do with my vision. The only two things that medically are affected is the melanin in the skin
Right.
and the vision.
Right.
Neither of which are contagious. So you can shake my hand and you'll be just as healthy as before you did.
Right. So that's again a misconception prevailing in the
Complete.
society that if you shake hands with a person who's having albinism, it might get transferred and all
Right.
that.
Or they might believe it's a spiritual curse, even though physically it's not contagious.
Right.
Some spiritual curse will
Okay.
come upon you if you touch someone like this.
Under the Same Sun, when you started off, what is your vision for that and what have you done so far?
Well, we started really was to find out what we could do to stop the killings and the murders. We've had so far attack data on 270 attacks in 22 different African nations.
Okay.
In Tanzania alone, 72 murders have been documented since 2006. Most of the murder victims are children under the age of 18. And so our idea was to find out why it was going on and try and do something to stop it. So we have an office in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, with 20 employees, half of whom have albinism. And our goal is through public education programs and educational and advocacy programs to expose this misinformation.
Right.
Because truth gets rid of error. And so to show the society these are normal, equal human beings. This child, although the mom and dad have darker skin, this is their child. It's just a visual difference in the skin color.
Right.
They're to be loved and accepted like all members of society. So really it's to preach equality, to end the discrimination, to say these people are intelligent, capable, contributing members. And we take kids with albinism who were rejected, who were orphaned, we put them in private English medium schools, and these kids excel academically. Myself, I have a master's degree. I've been a successful businessman for many years.
Right.
So albinism need not interfere with a successful
daily work.
achievement in life at all,
Okay.
if it's properly dealt with.
You also went to the United Nations and over there a resolution was also passed. Let us know a little bit
Very
about
exciting. We went to the United Nations back in June and then again in September. In our work in June, we went to Geneva to the Human Rights Council. We lobbied hard among Western nations and among African nations. And for the first time in history in June, a resolution was passed that actually identified people with albinism as a persecuted people group. Before we literally didn't exist. People of color, women, vulnerable children, they all existed as groups that were marginalized, that
Right.
had issues, that had persecution. People with albinism were not. And they didn't exist. And so we wanted to raise the flag at the UN to say, this group of people are being targeted, their human rights are being violated, they're not given equal opportunity to health, security, education, simply because they have albinism. And we lobbied hard for months,
Right.
and the Human Rights Council passed a resolution demanding that the United Nations conduct a deeper study on the issue to examine exactly what's going on and why it's going on. And that first draft of that study came out in September.
that. Right.
And then we got another resolution passed that called for a deeper, much more probing study over the next year and a half. And Under the Same Sun is working closely with the United Nations to give them the information they need in these nations to expose this discrimination.
In the past, you have also held some fundraiser and also trying to create awareness amongst the common masses about this issue. So how successful you have been and what would be your message in the last to our viewers today?
Well, I would say, we had a fundraiser, and fortunately, we had a great turnout in Surrey recently at the Sheraton. We had almost 180 people there. Our goal is to raise awareness because so many people in the culture in Canada here, in various parts of society, know nothing about this. So many communities know nothing about albinism.
Right.
And so our goal is to raise awareness about the issue, to get people involved. We're a charity. We exist on charitable donations. So when people go to our website at underthesamesun.com, if they go to our Facebook page for Under the Same Sun, they can learn more about it. we need local supporters to say, I'll help support one of these children in Africa who are being persecuted with school supplies, with education, with medicine, and so on. And so our goal is to raise public awareness to support the good work that we're trying to do.
Wonderful, and congratulations and best wishes in your future endeavors also. And I hope, as you said, that you are also venturing out to other countries also, and South Asia would also be in your focus.
And we are actually, and let me comment on that briefly
Sure.
as we close, that we do know that persons with albinism from South Asian countries experience discrimination.
Right.
I met a family actually once on a holiday, and the mother told me that she had to move to the United States because her daughter was rejected in India,
Right.
simply because she looked different. And we find this all over the world. This stigma is due to lack of knowledge, and so we are venturing into other countries
Wonderful.
to expand our awareness.
Thank you and best wishes.
Thank you.
ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਐਲਬਿਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਪੀਟਰ ਐਸ਼ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਅੰਡਰ ਦ ਸੇਮ ਸਨ ਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਗਰਤੀ ਲਿਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਕਮਿਊਨੀਕੇਬਲ ਡਿਜ਼ੀਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ, ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੱਥ ਮਿਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ, ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਡਿਜ਼ੀਜ਼ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਫਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏਗੀ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਅਫਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਵੇਚੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਅੰਡਰ ਦ ਸੇਮ ਸਨ ਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੇਤਨਾ ਲਿਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਓ ਸਾਰੇ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਇਹ ਪਰਸੀਕਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਬੰਦ ਕਰੀਏ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਕੁਅਲੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਰੀਟ ਕਰੀਏ।